All right, let's jump right into our deep dive today.
Yeah, that's good.
You sent over some fascinating stuff on the 2024 election.
Right.
And specifically, we're going to be focusing on the Democratic Party's reaction, right? And some interesting comments from Senator Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
from this CNN interview transcript.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to dig into the nuances of Sanders' take on things and what this all means for the big picture.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, how this election's brought to light, like these cracks within the Democratic Party.
Oh.
Yeah, these establishment figures kind of pushing back against Sanders' views, but then you also have those who are kind of echoing his concerns.
Yeah.
It's a tough road ahead for them.
Sanders definitely isn't holding back, though.
No, not at all.
He even said that the Democrats have abandoned the working class.
Oh, yeah, he did say that.
I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
It is bold, but it's more than just talk. He's tapping into a very real concern among working class Americans.
Yeah.
About the economy. I mean, we're seeing a wider gap between the rich and poor.
Right.
Wages haven't kept up with the cost of living.
It's true.
And then healthcare costs are out of control for a lot of families.
Yeah.
These are issues affecting people from all walks of life.
Yeah, he even gave a statistic in the interview. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
That's a huge chunk of people barely getting by.
Yeah, no wonder there's this feeling of frustration and anger.
I mean, it's no wonder at all, right? And that kind of goes back to Sanders' critique of the Democrats.
Yeah.
He thinks they're too focused on issues that appeal to, like a smaller group of educated, elite voters.
Yes.
And not enough on these economic worries of the average working class.
Exactly.
So basically, he's saying they're out of touch
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
with a lot of potential voters, and it makes you wonder if this disconnect played a role in that interesting trend we saw with some Latino voters
Oh, yeah.
shifting towards Trump
Right, yeah.
in this election.
The CNN exit polls did show a pretty significant swing.
Yeah.
Trump gained ground among Latino voters, particularly men.
Interesting.
And analysts are saying it's partly because there's this perception that the Democrats are not aligned with their values,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to woke issues,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
CNN actually interviewed a Latino voter who really summed this up well.
Oh, really?
Let's hear what he had to say.
So he feels like the Democratic Party is just going in a direction that doesn't resonate with his values, and it really ties back to what Sanders is talking about.
Yeah.
Are the Democrats potentially alienating voters
Possibly.
by focusing on an agenda
Yeah.
that doesn't connect with the working class?
It's a big question.
It really is. I mean,
How can they appeal to their progressive base, but also address these economic concerns of everyday voters?
right.
That's a tough one.
It's a delicate balancing act for sure, especially in our current political climate.
And speaking of different political landscapes, Sanders' appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience sparked a bit of controversy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
He got criticism from some in the Democratic Party
Really?
for talking to an audience outside the usual media.
Interesting.
But I actually think this whole Rogan thing really gets to the heart of Sanders' argument.
What do you mean?
Like, Democrats need to be willing to step outside their comfort zone and connect with people who might not always agree with them.
That's true.
This Rogan thing, it was a risk.
Yeah, a calculated risk.
Yeah, he could reach new people, but also open himself up to criticism.
Yeah.
But it does raise a valid point, though, right?
Yeah.
Are Democrats missing chances to connect with voters?
Yeah.
Because they're too quick to write off anyone who doesn't perfectly align with their ideology.
It's something to think about for sure.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is something to think about. And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
With Sanders' critique,
Oh,
he doesn't just point out the problems.
right.
He offers some solutions.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, like he talks about raising the minimum wage, making healthcare affordable, and making college more affordable.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is these policies are actually pretty popular,
Oh, really?
even among people from different parties.
Huh. That is interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So if these ideas have so much support, then why aren't we seeing more progress on them?
Well, Sanders would say
Yeah.
it's because of the influence of money in politics.
Ah, okay.
He brings up the Citizens United Supreme Court decision.
Right, right.
That really opened the floodgates for corporations to spend tons of money on elections.
Okay, so unpack that a little. I mean, how does that tie into
Sure. So
I'm
basically,
going to talk about?
yeah. So what he's saying is that wealthy donors and corporations have way too much influence.
Okay.
And this makes it nearly impossible to pass laws that actually help everyday Americans.
So he's saying the system is rigged
Yeah. Yeah, that's his argument.
in favor of the wealthy
Exactly.
and powerful
Mm-hmm.
at the expense of the working class.
That's the gist of it.
Okay, now I know Sanders has his critics.
Yeah, for sure.
Some might call him,
Yeah.
an idealistic socialist or something.
Right.
But even if you don't agree with every single thing he says,
Mm-hmm.
you can't deny his passion
Yeah.
and how much he cares about these issues.
Absolutely. He really believes in this stuff.
He does, and I think whether or not you agree with his specific policies,
Yeah.
he's raising some really crucial questions about the future of the Democratic Party and really American politics as a whole.
American politics, yeah, for sure.
He's a force to be reckoned with, and he's making people face some tough truths
He is, that's for sure.
about our democracy. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What does this all mean for the Democrats as they try to move forward?
Well, it's clear they need to find a way to connect with more voters,
Okay.
especially those working-class Americans who are struggling.
Right.
They need to offer real solutions that address their concerns.
It's a tall order,
It is.
especially in such a divided political climate.
Absolutely.
But one thing's for sure, this debate within the Democratic Party,
Yeah.
it's not going away anytime soon.
No, not at all. And the outcome is going to have a huge impact,
Yeah.
not just on the party, but on all of American politics.
Right. And before we move on, I wanted to go back to something specific Sanders said.
Oh, okay. What's that?
In the interview that really hit me,
Okay.
it gets to the core of his argument
Yeah.
about the Democrats needing to broaden their appeal.
Right.
He talked about addressing the reality of the American economy today,
Yeah.
where a tiny group of people at the top are getting super rich,
Mhm.
while most Americans are struggling to make ends meet.
He's saying the Democrats need to acknowledge this.
Right, and he gave this stark example to illustrate his point.
Okay, like what?
He pointed out that if you adjust for inflation, wages today are lower than they were 50 years ago.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's crazy, right?
It really shows how, for a lot of people, the American dream, that idea of hard work leading to a better life, it's slipping away.
It is, and
Yeah.
Sanders is challenging the Democrats to face this head on
Okay.
and offer a bold new vision for a more just and equal society.
It's a big ask.
It might sound idealistic to some,
Yeah.
but I think this is a conversation we absolutely need to be having.
I agree. It's time to ask ourselves what kind of future we want
Exactly.
for ourselves and for future generations.
Yeah.
How do we create a system that works for everyone?
Not just the privileged few.
Yeah.
These are big questions, and there are no easy answers.
Nope.
But Sanders' challenge to the Democrats is a wake-up call.
It is. We can't just sit back and do nothing.
No, we need to be bold, innovative, and willing to fight for a future where everyone has a chance to thrive.
I think that's a great point, and it leads perfectly into the last part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll look at some of the specific solutions Sanders proposes to tackle these issues.
Sounds good. Let's do it. It's funny you should mention that because what really stood out to me in this interview with Sanders wasn't just his criticism of the Democratic Party,
Right.
but the fact that he actually put forward some concrete ideas, for fixing these problems.
Mhm.
He lays out this whole progressive agenda
Okay.
aimed at creating a better future for the working class.
Right.
He talks about a living minimum wage, expanding Social Security,
Okay.
guaranteeing health care for all,
Mhm.
making college tuition-free, and tackling climate change.
Yeah, it's all about creating a more level playing field.
Right.
So that opportunity isn't just for the wealthy and connected.
Exactly.
It's about making sure everyone has a chance to succeed.
Now, I know some people might hear these ideas and think, oh, that's radical or
Right.
unrealistic.
Mhm.
But Sanders argues that these policies are not only necessary,
Yeah.
but they're actually popular with most Americans.
Interesting.
He even brings up the recent vote in Missouri,
Yeah.
a traditionally conservative state
Mm-hmm.
where voters overwhelmingly supported raising the minimum wage.
It seems like there's a growing appetite for progressive change,
Yeah,
even in places you might not expect.
definitely. And this kind of circles back to Sanders' point
Okay.
that Democrats need to tap into that energy
Yeah,
and present a bold vision that resonates with a wide range of voters.
sure.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bernie Sanders' post-election critique,
Yeah,
it seems like the Democratic Party is at a crossroads.
it does.
Do they continue down a path that many feel has abandoned working-class Americans?
Right.
Or do they embrace a more progressive agenda that addresses the economic anxieties and aspirations of a larger portion of the electorate?
That's the big question.
It really is. And this decision isn't just about winning elections.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about the future of American politics
Absolutely.
and the kind of society we want to live in.
It's about ensuring the American dream is still attainable for everyone.
Right. Not just a select few. So as you think about everything we've discussed today about Sanders' insights and where American politics are headed right now, I want you to consider this. How can we as citizens engage in constructive dialogue and work together to create a more just and equitable society for all?
That's the challenge.
It's a tough one.
It is.
But it's absolutely crucial for the health and future of our democracy.
Couldn't agree more.